Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to talk about O2 placement and back pressure and why we need back pressure when we're running O2 sensors. Let's dive into it. All right, so this is something we deal with a lot with doing LS swaps, GM tuning, cam swaps, installing headers, exhaust, stuff like that. So there's a few things I want to talk about. We're going to kind of take it step by step. First things first, make sure you get quality sensors. We prefer AC Delco, genuine GM sensors. We've had pretty horrendous luck with parts store sensors. They're kind of hit or miss. Sometimes they work good, sometimes they don't. Even the good brand ones from the parts store like Bosch, sometimes they just don't work like they're supposed to. But we have had fantastic luck with AC Delco O2 sensors. We've got a GM dealership right down the road, so that's where we get them from. That's what we recommend to all of our customers, or anybody doing a swap, anybody that sends us a message or email or anything. That's what we're recommending. Now next, you're going to want these sensors put in the pipe. So if you're looking down the exhaust pipe, you're going to want your sensor between 11 and 1 o'clock. The reason you don't want it like this down below 3 and 9, because gravity can play a factor, and any moisture that gets inside that exhaust can reside inside that O2 and ruin that sensor. Now this is a very common problem. People will order long tube headers and just throw them on the car. A lot of these manufacturers that are making headers these days, they just put an O2 bung wherever they can. It may be right in the middle of the collector, right where all the primaries meet. We've seen them like that. Sometimes they're top dead center, sometimes they're underneath. And a lot of the times, especially in swap vehicles, we have to really play with O2 placement because there might be a frame rail in the way, or it might try to get into the bell housing. It all depends on the headers, the brand of headers, and the vehicle that we're swapping. But that's a really common problem in like eBay headers, and even some name brand headers. We found their O2 placement is not very good. So what we would do in that case is, if we got a set of headers in off of, say, eBay, and it had an O2 bung in the bottom, I'm going to put a plug in that and drill a new hole and weld in a new bung in a placement that's adequate and efficient. We want to keep them away from being below 3 and 9 o'clock. That way we're not ruining them with moisture. We want to try to place them in between 11 and 1, depending on your clearance and all that good stuff. Sometimes you may have to bolt the header in the vehicle, mark it with a Sharpie or something, take it back out, and that'll allow you to know exactly where you need to put that O2. The next thing is, you want it to try to be around that 12-inch mark away from the collector. Now this isn't always possible. Sometimes we end up with them right there just a few inches away from the collector, and they tend to still read pretty well. Most companies like Holley and Asus, they're going to want you to get that thing pretty good ways away from the collector. Into a direct pipe. And then we're going to want at least 12 inches of pipe after the O2. You don't want that O2 sensor and then 2 inches after it opens to the atmosphere. Essentially, what it's going to do is it's going to cause a vacuum leak-like symptom, and it's going to cause you to get false readings on your O2 because it's drawing in fresh air from the outside of the exhaust, especially on something that has a big camshaft and a rough idle, something that's hitting a lick on an idle. You'll definitely see it there. All right, so next we're going to talk about back pressure, why we need mufflers, and why you shouldn't straight pipe a modern vehicle that relies on O2 sensors. So we're looking at the top of the pipe. So you've got the pipe on the ground and you're looking at the top of it. Your O2 is at the 12 o'clock mark. Now these O2 sensors, they pick up readings 360 degrees all the way around the sensor. So if you straight pipe a vehicle and we have no back pressure coming back in, essentially what's happening is, when your exhaust gas is past this O2 sensor, this whole back side right here is left blank. There's no exhaust gases really getting to it to give it an accurate reading. All right, so and if you take off, you know, that whatever that could be, that 70, 80 degrees there, 90 degrees, whatever it actually may end up being, then that's going to affect your readout on that sensor. Now, when you add a muffler in on something like this, what it does is, when it adds back pressure, it allows all those exhaust gases, the little bit of back pressure that it's applying, comes back in and gives that O2 the balance of exhaust gas all the way around it. All right, this is another thing we see pretty common in open header vehicles, straight pipe vehicles, and it's just something I'm not really fond of. Back pressure is a very controversial topic. You'll see both sides of it. People say it's a myth. People say we have to have it. I'm on that side to say we really need it if we're running O2 sensors. Now, if you're running an old 400 small block and open headers in a race car, and it's carbureted and it goes wide open throttle and that's it, then obviously back pressure isn't going to apply to you because you don't have O2 sensors. But if you are running a modern port injection system or direct injected system, some kind of EFI, and it relies on O2 sensors to make adjustments within the ECM, then back pressure is pretty crucial in my opinion. Disclaimer, this is my thoughts and my opinion on this topic. This is information we've gathered from manufacturers, from doing installs, trial and error, and seeing what works and what doesn't. But I don't have any scientific testing behind this, factual proof other than explaining how it works and the logic behind it. If y'all want to get in the comments and argue about back pressure being a myth or this or that and straight pipe your stuff because you think it sounds cool and you just want to believe back pressure is a myth, I'm all for that. Kudos to you, bud. But in the world of reality and thinking logically, when we're relying on those O2s, back pressure is pretty important. And there may be something I forgot to discuss in this video. If so, maybe somebody will touch down on it in the comments and add to it. This is definitely just off the top of the head. What we see the most of when we're dealing with O2s, O2 placement, readings, and trying to get these vehicles lined out that we're never supposed to have an electronic fuel injected system in them to begin with. All right, now there are a few things that are going to be different depending on where you read up, who you talk to, all that good stuff. Like I said, this is just my personal opinion and what I've found works best. Holly's going to tell you 6 to 8 inches away from the collector and 18 to 24 inches after the pipe. ASUS is going to tell you 12 inches after the collector, I think 12 inches of pipe afterward. Man, it really just depends on the application at the end of the day. Sometimes we try stuff to see if it'll work, and then when it doesn't, we have to make an adjustment, send it to the exhaust shop or weld a bung in, or whatever the case may be. But we hope you find this video helpful. Let us know in the comments if you did find it helpful. Let us know in the comments if you have something else to add. If you're a shop owner, you do swaps, you do a lot of exhaust work, a lot of tuning, something like that. We're all ears, man. We want to learn with you guys. We want to teach y'all what we learn as we learn it, and that's what it's all about to us. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. We appreciate you guys watching. Until next time, remember, if you're not following us, grab that button.